Yeah, bold predictions in 2025. Okay, so 2024 was the biggest year of anthem-owned TNA ever by far, not even close. So let's go to how can they improve their game in 2025? Well, they've already started that with the Sportsnet 360 deal. They already started that with getting the deal that WWE had. Now, the big four deals that WWE had were, according to Dave, were the Fox deal in Mexico, Sportsnet 360 in Canada, TNT Sports in the UK, and Sony 6 in India. Here's my bold prediction. Okay, TNA got the Canada deal. AEW got the Mexico deal. They're on Fox Sports in Mexico now. So there's two markets left, and then of course there's the US. My bold prediction is that TNA will secure a major TV deal in either the US, India, or the UK. Okay, so they're either going to get one of those WWE deals, so they in India or the UK, so TNT or India. And in fact, right now, if you're looking at the odds would favor them getting that TNT Sports deal in the UK because AEW has opted to stay on ITV. So I think that like if TNT Sports still wants to be in the pro wrestling market, which I don't see why they wouldn't be, because Discovery has pro wrestling in every other market. Why wouldn't they have it in the UK, right? Or WBD is in the pro wrestling market. In every major market that there is, they have pro wrestling, right? It's either AEW, like TNA is on WBD, like the Discovery networks and some of the different markets like Eurosport and all these other places. So I think it's a very real possibility that TNA could land the UK deal. Sony 6 is going to be interesting. TNA already has a deal in India right now. I don't know that's the Eurosport one that WBD owns. I don't know the language of the contract. I don't know if they can get out of that deal and go to Sony 6. I think AEW would love to have that. If either one of those shows gets it, that's huge for either company. I think that if TNA got it, and I think they could, because they could come in, what they could do, like I said, in Canada, they can come in and say, hey, look, here's the competition. It's AEW and us. AEW is probably going to get you the most viewership, but they're going to cost you this much. We come in, you're not going to get as much viewership right away. We could probably grow, but we're also going to undercut the market, and we can, we'll charge you this much because we're operating at a much smaller budget, right? So WWE was getting like 30 million, right? Say AEW in there, we want 20. TNA can go in and say, hey, we'll take 5, right? We'll take 5. We'll take 5, right? But we'll still get you about 60 to 70% of what AEW would have been able to do. And then on top of that, it'll help us grow. And then we'll get bigger. We'll put that money back into our production, and then maybe that'll help us land somewhere else. So I think UK or India possibility. I have been very bullish that TNA was not going to get a deal in the US. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that they were content being content, right? They were just a cheap content for Access TV. But seeing them leave the Fight Network, now I know people put comments on them. They didn't technically leave the Fight, but you guys know what I'm saying. Their first run content has left the Fight Network. Now they just show reruns, okay? So since they have moved their first run content from Fight Network over to Sportsnet 360, that signals to me that they are very much willing to leave Access TV. Very much willing to leave Access TV, despite the fact that the reason why they bought Access TV was to put TNA on it, right? And the reason why they bought TNA was because they wanted to keep it on the Fight Network, which they already own. I think 2025 could be the year that they get a US TV deal. I think it's a real possibility. Where that is, I don't know. But my bold prediction is they are going to land a major TV deal in either the US, the UK, or India. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they can land TV deals in all 3 countries. But I'm going to go bold prediction. They're going to get at least one. They're going to get at least one right now. Most likely a UK deal, but I have always been closed-minded to the possibility that they get a US TV deal. I'm just very pessimistic about it because they always say that they're looking for a deal, but I always just kind of shut it down. It's like I haven't seen the evidence that they're actually looking at a deal. But I think that I think it's a real possibility, and you know, and the one that I always go back to as far as US is Fox, not like the network Fox, but Fox Sports 1. That's the one that I always kind of go back to. I don't think going to Reels would be worth it. I think you'd just probably, unless they were making a strong money offer, CBS Sports Network would be an upgrade, but not like a crazy upgrade. But I think it would be an upgrade. But I think that I think Fox Sports 1. I think that if take a look at it. AEW Rampage just got canceled, okay, and they were shopping around Shockwave, and it looks like nobody bought Shockwave, and then that's off the table now. They were at one point in negotiations with Fox because Fox wants wrestling, but they didn't go with AEW Shockwave. Now, this is what Dave said. Now, Dave's always everybody's always saying about Dave that he is a pro AEW and he hates everybody else. Well, that's not true. Because he's been very critical of AEW to the fact that a lot of AEW fans are turning on Dave. And he said in his newsletter he said on Wrestling Observer Radio that, they were in negotiations and it looked like they were going to get a deal, but the numbers have dropped so significantly, their ratings and their ticket sales, that it looks like Fox has passed. I'm pretty sure that they were going to be looking at a strong money offer too. Like they were going to want a lot of money for a third TV show. And that's off the table. TNA, like I said about Canada and I said about India or wherever, if you have the choice between AEW and TNA, right now TNA is the show that actually has some momentum. Not at ratings wise because it's on a dead channel, but I'm just talking about like ticket sales and pay-per-view. And as far as year-over-year growth, like TNA is the one that's actually growing versus AEW. Their production is better. It looks like a professional production, starting with Victory Road in September. And it's been, other than Turning Point looked like shit, but everything else looked really good. I think that if you're Fox, you're looking at it, it's like, hey, look, we could give AEW, I'm just tossing numbers out there. We can give AEW $60 million, right, to be on Fox Sports 1, FS1. And they'll probably pull in right now. The Collision's pulling in average like 300,000 to 400,000, right? Some weeks are actually below 300,000. I think recently they had like 250,000. We could probably get like 300 to 400,000 and we'll spend 60 million, or we can give 10 million to TNA and they can get 200, and it'll be their first run Thursday night show that they put all their energy into. I think they have to have those conversations and look at it. And people are going to think that this is crazy, but I don't think it's crazy at all. I don't think it's crazy at all that TNA would land a major US TV deal. In fact, I'm actually predicting that it's going to happen. And if it's going to happen, I think 2025 is the year that it's probably going to happen. Okay. Next bold prediction. The return of a legend. I think expect a former major TNA star from their heyday to come back to the company. If it's for a night or for full time, I expect a former major TNA star to come back. I'm not talking about James Storm, although I love James. I'm talking like think big. Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. Think big like that. I think we're going to get that this year. Lucha Doncic already said in 2025 we're going to get AJ Styles. I don't think he's crazy. I think it's a real possibility that AJ Styles shows up at some point. But I didn't want to single anybody out. So I'm just going to put a TNA legend will return. A significant major former TNA star is going to return at some point in 2025. Also, last prediction, record-breaking attendance. I think at one point in 2025, TNA is going to surpass 5,000 tickets. I think they'll surpass 5,000 tickets. In October, I said I started the 5 for 25 campaign. I think they're going to get it. That's my bold prediction. Now, if none of my predictions come true, I'm going to delete this segment and I'm going to remove this episode from Patreon and I'll delete this clip from YouTube. But if they land, I'm going to share them every day. That way you guys are sick of me if any of these land. But I think that they will. What are your bold predictions? Shout off in the comments. Let me know. Billy, My 2025 prediction is TNA will hire more Canadian wrestlers. They're losing Bailey and Josh. Yeah. I think that would be smart considering they have the number one distribution in all of Canada for pro wrestling on Sportsnet 360. And in fact, they haven't lost Josh yet. I think that they should, whatever money offer they're offering him, I think they should up it. It was pretty clear that writing was on the wall that he was going to leave once D'Amore left. Like, I think that like hurt his feelings, like that's his guy. But I think they could probably afford to keep him. I think so. Especially now that they should be more Canada focused, given that TV deal. It's their best TV deal that they got. They're going to have more people in Canada watching than they'll have in the US. Easily. They'll easily have higher TV ratings in Canada than they'll have in the US. So it makes sense to keep Josh Alexander and keep him pushed. That doesn't mean he's your world heavyweight champion, but they got to do something with these secondary titles. I think PCO's gone, by the way. Like, he'll be back for Genesis, and I think he'll be back for the Live Impact. That's all that he's being advertised for. Scott D'Amore promised him a world heavyweight title and that he was going to win the world title at Slammiversary, and TNA never followed through with that promise, and he's pissed about it. He told me so in my DMs. Bertrand Hebert told me on Twitter. They're both really pissed about it. And now it looks like he's probably been asked to take a pay cut because he was making a lot of money. So I don't think he's sticking around. I think you got to keep PCO. He's a decent sized Canadian star. I think you got to keep PCO. And he's over. The guy's over. Like, why wouldn't you keep him around? I know he's not like your average pro wrestler that people like. BQ made the point that everybody that's been in a feud with PCO has been worse afterwards. I think there's an argument to that. But I think that's a booking issue. It's not a PCO issue. I think you keep him around as a Frankenstein. You bring him back for special occasions. He's a good guy to have on the roster as like a special occasion, special attraction, right? I think you keep PCO. And it's disappointing that they're not going to keep him and that they might not keep him. Same with Josh Alexander. And I'm real disappointed that they lost Speedball. I thought they should have worked hard to keep Speedball. But it looks like Speedball's already headed to AEW. And it's like, okay, you're in AEW. You're going to have the same matches that everybody else is going to have over there. At least in TNA, he was special, right? He was always special in TNA. Even whenever he was not actively in a feud, like they always figured out a way to make Speedball look good, I thought they booked Speedball really well. So they lost their top three. They're either lost or losing their top three Canadian attractions. At the same time, they got the biggest TV deal ever in Canada. And with no real Canadian, like they got Eric Young and Sinner and Saint. Was Gail Kim going to wrestle again? Don't even mention Jody Threat. She's not a star. She's a good wrestler. She's not a star. Right. So I think that they need to hire some more Canadian talent. But who's out there? Well, we're going to go. I mean, I guess they could check two boxes with Jinder, right? He's Canadian, but he's of Indian descent. And maybe that'll help him get that Sony 6 deal, but I don't think he's a good wrestler. I don't want to see him on my TV. But now I think the Jinder's probably a real possibility, especially if they're going to go try to get that Sony 6 deal, if they're able to. I don't know if they're able to. Josiah says they should hire some guys from the Maritimes, as it's largely unknown territory and all the guys there are good. Yeah, but I think that, they need Canadian stars, right? Like, they can bring Canadian wrestlers all day. They just don't have that many roster spots. So if they're going to hire some Canadian guys, they got to hire some Canadian stars. The problem is that the Canadian stars they have are all leaving. So they should work really hard to up that money offer to keep them, to keep Josh Alexander. But all right, guys, I think that's going to do it for me this week on Brace for Impact. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. We've had a big year in 2024. I'm excited for 2025 coming up. Now, Mike and JD show has moved to Sunday nights. That is going to be our normal night going forward. We're really excited about that. Thursday nights became just too difficult for us because we have to record like anywhere from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday nights, Hawaii Standard Time. It means I have to rush home from work and get right to like I rush home, I change, I get right to the dinner table, and then I run upstairs, right? With and I get no time to play with the kids. And by the time I'm done, it's time for the kids to go to bed. So I get like a small window of time on Thursdays to hang out with my family. So we decided to move to Sunday nights. And so that's starting tomorrow night. We'll be live free for everybody. So check it out, join us, and hop in the chat. I would greatly appreciate it. The audio will immediately go up to Patreon first for everybody. And then, of course, it gets released to the Voices of Wrestling Network the next day. And then, of course, you can always watch the YouTube show. But with us moving to Sunday nights, and me very likely moving to the East Coast in the summer, I think this show will probably move back to Thursday nights because TNA will come on at 8 p.m., which is normal time, versus, half the year 2:30 p.m. and the other half of the year 3:30 p.m. here in Hawaii, where it's coming on during work. I can't watch it. So, and then on the West Coast, it was difficult because it was coming on at 5 p.m. and that's right. Like I get home from work and then go right to the television to watch Impact Live at 5 and then go right to the bedroom and do a podcast. Like that was also difficult. So, but I think that starting in the summer, Brace for Impact is probably going to be a live recap show on Thursday nights. We'll see how it works out. We'll see what my schedule's like, but I think that's the move coming up this summer, to where I'll probably watch Impact at 8 p.m. on the East Coast with everybody and then immediately head in, because like at 8 p.m., that's fine. I've already done family dinner. I've already been playing with the kids. I've already been doing all that stuff. And then my kids go to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So that's like, okay, boom, I can go right to the TV at that point, go to the man cave and then watch it live and then immediately hop on and do like a live TNA Impact recap show, which I have not been able to do because of the time zones I've been in. So I've been doing a pretty good job covering this company, but I have not done the thing that I think most people want, which is to watch the show and then hear my reaction live immediately afterwards. And I think that's what we're going to do coming up in the summer. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. We didn't really have, I was going to hit the Patreon earlier this week to talk some different stories, but nothing really broke. It wasn't any, I already talked about the TNA Canadian deal. So I talked about that on Sunday night and I clipped that for YouTube. So nothing really broke. So we'll going forward, since we're doing Sunday nights, during the week I'm like free. So during the week, you're going to see more me just hopping on and hitting, like, as live stories break, me just hitting on the Patreon and just knocking some stuff out throughout the week. So that should be more regular going forward if stuff breaks. If nothing breaks, then you won't hear from me all week unless I got something specific to say. So Billy, would you make a play for Kyle O'Reilly? No, I think he stinks. He's like, he could do the moves, he can kick out of stuff. He's got no personality. His personality is worse than Speedballs, but he's not as good a wrestler. I'm just not a big fan of Kyle O'Reilly. I've never been interested in Kyle O'Reilly. Even when he was in NXT, I like Red Dragon, the tag team. Red Dragon ruled, right? Him and Bobby Fish are great. Kyle O'Reilly is a single. I've never cared about Kyle O'Reilly. I know people like, he is an internet kind of darling guy, but I've just always thought he stinks. I've literally never watched a Kyle O'Reilly singles match and be like, I can't wait to see how this one plays. I just don't care. So no, I would not make a play for Kyle O'Reilly. You might as well take a big bag of money and throw it right into a dumpster if you sign Kyle O'Reilly. Name great moments Kyle O'Reilly history in AEW. You can't. So no, I would not make a play for him. All right, guys. Sorry I had to be mean to Kyle, but that's going to do it for me this week on Brace for Impact. And until next time, mahalo. Brace for Impact.